There was no post, no caption, no moment where you stood in front of someone and said, "Watch what I'm about to become." You just started, quietly, in the dark hours when no one was paying attention to you anyway, in the margins of a life that felt like it was happening to someone else. And that silence, that invisible transformation, that is the most dangerous thing you've ever done. Not dangerous like reckless, dangerous like unstoppable. Because the world only fears what it cannot predict. And nobody predicted you. Not the people who wrote you off at the table, not the ones who laughed at the version of you that existed 3 years ago. Not even you, if you're being honest, because the person you're becoming didn't exist in any map you ever held. You were background noise to them. You were the person they looked through at parties, the one they forgot to invite, the one whose name came up and someone said, "Oh yeah, how are they doing?" And nobody really knew, nobody really asked. Good. Let them stay comfortable in their assumptions. Let them keep the outdated photograph they have of you in their heads. You've already moved. Go back. You need to go back because skipping the hard part is a lie, and you deserve the truth. There was a time when you believed everything they said about you, not because you were weak, but because repetition is its own kind of gravity. When enough voices tell you the same thing, you're not smart enough, not driven enough, not the type, eventually you stop fighting the pull. You let yourself sink into the definition they handed you. You wore it like it fit. And some of those voices weren't even cruel, that's what made it worse. Some of them were casual, offhand. A shrug and a sentence that they forgot the moment it left their mouth. But you carried it. You filed it somewhere deep. You replayed it at 2 a.m. when the room was quiet and the world had gone to sleep and you were lying there trying to figure out if any version of yourself was worth betting on. You doubted the right things and trusted the wrong ones. You trusted the opinion of people who had never built anything, who had never sat with genuine failure, who had never looked at a life they hated and decided to dismantle it from the inside out. And you doubted your instinct, that persistent, inconvenient, impossible to kill feeling that you were meant for something the current version of your life had no room for. You made yourself smaller to fit into spaces that were never designed for you. You edited your ambition in conversation. You laughed off the things that mattered most. You learned the particular skill of talking about your dreams like they were jokes, because a joke can't be rejected. A joke doesn't cost you anything. A joke keeps you safe, but safety kept you still. And stillness, real stillness, the kind that comes from fear, is a slow erosion. You don't notice it day by day, but year by year, it takes the edge off everything. It files down your hunger until what's left is just the dull routine of a person going through emotions they don't remember choosing. You weren't living, you were loading. You were waiting for permission from a world that was never going to give it to you, because the world doesn't hand out permission. It watches, it waits, it rewards the ones who stopped asking. You had not yet stopped asking. Then it broke. Something broke, not dramatically, not in a single night with a single event you can point to cleanly. It was a slow accumulation, a weight that built without you realizing how much you were carrying. And then one ordinary day, in the middle of something completely unremarkable, you hit the floor. Not the floor as metaphor, the floor as this is it, this is the bottom. I cannot continue being this version of myself and survive it. And you were terrified, because collapse looks nothing like what you imagined. It is not cinematic. It is not beautiful in its darkness. It is quiet and humiliating, and it smells like the inside of a room you haven't left in too long. It is the face in the mirror that you avoid. It is the messages you leave unread. It is the plans you cancel because getting dressed feels like a negotiation you keep losing. This is where most people stop. This is where the story ends for the ones who will look at your life later and not understand how you got from there to here. They will see where you ended up and assume the distance was shorter. They will assume the ground was more stable beneath your feet. It wasn't. You built on rubble. And that is not a weakness. That is the only foundation that teaches you what holds and what doesn't. The collapse was information. The most expensive, most brutal, most clarifying information you ever received. Here is what the collapse was actually telling you. Everything that broke was already broken. You were just maintaining the illusion of its stability. The relationships that fell apart were not lost. They were exposed. The identity that crumbled was not your real one. It was the constructed self, the performance, the version of you that was built from other people's expectations and your own fear of their disappointment. The invisible transformation doesn't begin in triumph, it begins in the rubble of false versions. You had to lose the wrong self to find the direction of the right one. And this is not comfort. Do not receive this as comfort and move on unchanged. receive it as orientation. You are standing in the wreckage of something that was never going to take you where you needed to go. The question now is what you build, not what you rebuild, what you build from scratch, with different materials, with a different set of values doing the architecture. You are not recovering. Recovery implies return. There is no return to something that was already costing you everything. You are constructing. The version of you nobody saw coming doesn't rise from inspiration. It rises from clarity. Hard-won, ugly earned, nobody can give it to you clarity about who you actually are underneath everything that was piled on top. That person has been waiting, patient, quiet, certain. Now you have to work, not philosophically, actually. Start with your attention. Right now your attention is a resource you're hemorrhaging. You are spending hours inside systems designed to show you everyone else's edited highlight reel, and you are consuming it like it has something to do with your life. It does not. Cut the hours, not reduce, cut. Take the time you've been giving away and put it toward the thing you keep saying you don't have time for. Examine your physical body, not as vanity, as infrastructure. You cannot build a transformed life inside a body you are consistently neglecting. Sleep is not a luxury for people who don't have real ambitions. It is the system that consolidates everything you're learning. Protect it. Food is not a reward for surviving the day. It is the fuel for the work. Start treating it that way. Move, not to look different, to think differently. The research is not subtle on this point. Movement changes the brain. Change the brain. Change the options you can perceive. Now look at your circle. Not with judgment, with honesty. Who in your life actively challenges you to rise? Not to feel good about where you are, but to rise. If you cannot name 3 people with specificity, you have an isolation problem disguised as a social life. Find the rooms where the conversation makes you uncomfortable because the standard is higher than yours. Sit in those rooms. Stay in them even when you feel outmatched. Write down what you are building, not what you want, what you are building, with a date, a specific output, a measurable marker. Vague intention is just sophisticated procrastination, and you've spent enough time there. What will exist in 90 days that does not exist now? Name it. Put it somewhere you see it every morning before the day has a chance to convince you that small living is acceptable. Do the uncomfortable thing first, every day, before email, before notifications, before the dopamine hits that flatten your courage. Do the thing that matters while your resistance hasn't fully woken up yet. And stop explaining yourself to people who are not going to the same place you are. You do not owe anyone a detailed account of your transformation while it is still happening. The invisible transformation is invisible for a reason. You are not a construction site that needs a public viewing. You are under construction. Stay behind the fence until there is something worth seeing. Hold the standard privately, ferociously, consistently. Not because anyone is watching, because you are watching. Because you will have to live inside the result of the choices you make right now, in this season, when no one would notice if you drop the standard completely. They won't notice. You will.